So, Dean, how often when you go to pay for something at a retailer, do you have like a tiny screen or a terminal asking you to like add a tip, round up to support a cause?
No, I can't read it. I don't know what it says.
Yeah. How often does an associate try to awkwardly, ask if you want to add on or take advantage of a sale?
Yes.
Like, do you want to? Would you like some fries with that, sir? Something like that.
Would you like 3% off your purchase with a card? Yes.
I love how the assumption always is that everyone in retail is like some squeaky voiced teenager,
Which is generally true, but go ahead. Yes.
Well, today we're talking about point of purchase or POP advertising. We got Kevin Brown of PamiTV joining us.
He's awesome.
A fascinating new, it's one of those things that's like, it's not like brand new,
right?
Like it's one of those things that just makes sense.
Yes,
but that I suspect a lot of our partners are not out there actively talking about or selling, or we're aware that this could be part of their business strategy.
True. Yep.
So he's going to explain to us how this POP stuff works. What does it look like? What's the hardware and software involved? The platform. What's the pitch to retailers to help them understand why they should be doing this in their business? Also, how does it relate to your existing strategies in your business and with retailers? We got lots of good stuff here. I think you're going to find a potential new partner out of this conversation, which we love to make that happen. Hey, while you're doing that, though, would you like to sign up for our podcast loyalty program? Every fifth podcast is free. Just a small fee to get you signed up. I mean, it's practically nothing.
Yeah.
I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
Welcome to BlueStar Nation. BlueStar Nation podcast is brought to you by Elo. Look, not every display needs someone's dirty fingers all over.
That's true.
Those are my words, not Elo's.
Yes,
that's not
their copy.
They're cool with your dirty fingers. Their screens are easy to clean off. I'm sure
They've planned for it. Yes.
Well, now you can get monitors that deliver the kind of superior quality and durability that Elo is known for, but in a non-touch display. With 22 and 24-inch options, these monitors feature anti-glare edge-to-edge glass with IKO6 impact resistance, enhanced ESD performance, and a ventless back and cable cover design to help reduce foreign contaminant ingress. Basically, what they're saying is these things are hard to get dirty.
Yeah, very much so.
They don't get super dirty.
No.
Dirty.
From
digital signage and kitchen display systems to dashboards, medical carts, and production line monitors, the 2210L and 2240L monitors provide a reliable, cost-effective display in a thin, compact form factor. Long life cycles, integrated VESA mounting, and peace of mind courtesy of Elo Care service and support. So hands off! Elo has the non-touch monitors that your customers need. Contact the BlueStar Elo team to learn more and place an order. All right, our guest today is Kevin Brown. He is the CEO of PamiTV.
Yes.
Kevin, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. I think this is going to be an interesting topic that a lot of people maybe have not thought about or realized is a potential for them before.
Yes.
So maybe to that end, tell us a little about yourself, your background. What led you to this company, and what led you to this particular part of our reseller channel.
You got it, guys. Hey, thanks for having me on today. Really excited to be here. My name's Kevin Brown. I started in the payment industry 20 plus years ago. And really that started the journey to PamiTV through a lot of interesting twists and turns. The first piece was, understanding that ISVs and VARs continuously need revenue to bundle and more effectively bundle. As well as just the terminals that were out there at the point of purchase were always a little bit annoying to me, because you could maybe flash a flag across the screen as you were checking out, or there was the opportunity to add a tip or potentially do an upsell, like for the ASPCA or something, like donate $5. But otherwise, those screens were pretty ineffective. And so my journey through payments was interesting, because I got to work in the channel and meet so many value-added resellers within that journey. So I was at a company out of Colorado that pretty much represented a large majority of the folks that order their hardware through BlueStar, which was the ISV and VAR channels that people back then knew as Mercury Payments. And as my career progressed, and I did leave Vantiv at that point in time, I started with a tabletop media company that did restaurants. And within that restaurant portfolio, they had some really cool, clever things they could do with those units that were on the table, and things like taken surveys, kids played games with those units. So it ended up being a really multi-purpose unit. But the coolest thing about that unit, in my opinion, because I'm a payment geek, was that it always flawlessly accepted payments. And so that was really kind of the foundation of, hey, we can do more with credit card terminals than literally just run transactions. And so that was the principle around our start behind PamiTV. It was bringing a digital media advertising network to our point of sale providers that will do a lot of different things. It'll actually allow a lot of loyalty signups. It helps promote other items that they have. It could actually, a lot of our merchants actually own other businesses, so they can do things like promoting their other business down the street. And then we'll get into kind of the brands and how this benefits the brands in store as well as our VARs and ISVs. But basically the concept was, hey, let's replace something on the counter with something a little more valuable. So we'll continue to run payments at the counter as intended, but take that space and actually have that space working not only for our ISVs and VARs, but their merchants and bringing value to the checkout. So our company's about 3.5 years old. We've been heavily partnered with BlueStar throughout that journey and been an incredible partner to us, and get to work with all my channel friends that I've made over the past 20 years.
I think Kevin's being a little too modest. When you talk about payments, Kevin knows payments. And we need to have more payments people, I think, on it, because
we legitimately do.
I agree with Kevin. It is a fascinating world. Sometimes really hard to understand, right. Complicated, lots of pots in the kitchen or cooks in the kitchen kind of a thing, but which Kevin knows very, very well. Came out of that world. But
we don't have too many people that would describe themselves as a payments geek.
Right.
We need more of those.
Payments runs the world, right? And so it's like,
cash is king.
We probably need more
and
payments geeks
and
out
everything
there.
else, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, good. That was a fantastic background on your background and obviously why you came about to do this company, what you guys do. So let's start with this idea of the advertising and doing something else at the point of purchase, because I agree with you. Like harkening back to my old retail days, where the counter was the place you put like the hot items, or you put like the whatever was hot, or you put whatever was like the quick little grab and go cheaper item that you might put up there. I mean, it's a hot space, and to that, because people have to be there, they got to go up there if they want to buy something.
That's right.
So let's start there, Kevin. Let's start with why is advertising at the point of sale so important? Why does it offer more engagement and tangible benefits that maybe doing this kind of stuff anywhere else in the store or externally? Is there a science at work here that kind of proves that this is a great place to do this?
The science is beginning, I think. If you think about the guest checkout and what we've seen historically, think of going to the grocery store during March, right? And they may be taking something for the March of Dimes, a donation, but it's a very manual process. First, you have to train the cashier on the promotion and, how am I going to really tell my customers about this great thing that we're doing, which is offering value and money donations to the March of Dimes. And so cashiers are kind of bombarded with this stuff constantly. Did you sign the client or customer, the guest up for loyalty? Did you offer the guest upsells? Did the guest enjoy their experience in the store today? So what we've expected as retailers is for our cashiers to kind of be the salesperson for the organization at checkout. And what we found is that our displays, when they're there, can take the place of training and notification for the store itself. So we offer 3 ads to the merchant. That's our quote unquote merchant service that PamiTV provides. So we'll build 3 custom video ads that are beautiful that help highlight the upsells for the merchant. And again, that could be loyalty signups. It could be adding a gift card to the transaction, or it could be just trying to be constantly contacted about additional promotions that store might value. And so where the science comes in is marrying the brands and the store to the guest itself. And so the benefit for the brands at checkout is that as long as the guest opts in, because we're not Big Brother running AI and trying to make matchmaking and marriages, what we actually do is you have to opt in order as a guest to receive a text message or some sort of service from Pami. So the one I always like to use is men's razors, Gillette razors, Dollar Shave Club. super expensive products, right? So the concept would be if I took advantage of a Gillette ad that was running on a PamiTV and I downloaded a coupon, and that would be our engagement service to get that coupon to your phone. Now the grocer or the retailer plus Gillette has the opportunity now to market to that guest because they took advantage of that offer. Now, we're not going to sell those offers to other retailers, and we're not going to provide that information to other brands. But now that you're in our ecosystem, you're a Gillette or Dollar Shave Club user, and we'll notify you of additional offers that are coming at some other point. I think the really cool science and what the real concept of developing Pami for is really for the card brands or payment methods. So if you think about it as you're checking out, right, the one thing we don't want to do is slow down the line, and we put a lot of attention to make sure we don't do so. But, in regards to card brands specifically, we can actually hit 3 offers just on one checkout screen as you're checking out. So that would be, and I'll use our friends at Citibank as a case point. If you have a Citibank card, use it today and get 2% off your purchase. Citibank will highly incentivize us and our merchants to put them in top of wallet, right? So that's an instant gratification for that guest if they have a Citibank card. The other option that could be there would be if you do not have a Citibank card or you don't bank with Citi, scan this QR code in the top right corner, and we'll send you that promotion 45 minutes later after you're home and your groceries are put away, and we'll get you to sign up for a Citibank card. And then the final piece is Citi has a ton of points out there. So the only way that we can figure you can pay with points at that grocer would be to notify the guests that they do have points available through their Citi Points Bank, and then apply that to the point of purchase and reduce that off of the sale. So actually offering pay with points for the bank is a big deal. It gets that risk off their books with high point bank balances. And it also brings a lot of value to the merchant and to the guest. So that's kind of how we do the payment screen for PamiTV. And then we also bring in purposeful brands for that store. And we also bring in we try to bring in some local advertising as well. So we do a lot with vet brands and veterinarian clinics. And within a vet clinic, right, vets offer boarding. They do teeth cleaning. They do scans for your dog. If your dog's a large dog, they need to have scans at a certain age. So it's really to highlight things that maybe guests aren't aware that store or that merchant is providing, and make sure those get top of mind. And again, take that control, still let your cashiers be sales reps, but also make sure that you're still touching your guest at the corporate level or at the management level of that store, informing people of the promotions that are available.
Interesting. So there's a couple angles here, I guess, that we could kind of dive into a little bit. But what you were talking, I was intrigued there about, I'm thinking about the point of sale. And as you stated, you don't want to add friction here, right? So that's but you still see it as an opportunity. And I guess there's some science around, when you're at the point of sale, that is kind of a golden moment, right? Like you're making a purchase. So you could influence portions of the sale. What you're saying is you're influencing, some of the buying behavior around what they're using to purchase it from, or talking about services that maybe are also addition at the facility that they're at if they're making a purchase. But talk to us about that golden time. How much time do you think is available there before it starts to get annoying? Are you operating in a 30-second window? Are you operating in a 5-minute window? I don't know. Do you just have a gut feel on that?
I'll give you the payment answer, which is it depends. But the reality is if you're at your supermarket and you're checking out, you really have the attention of what it takes on average for that guest to check out, which is about a minute at a supermarket. Okay. That's far different than if you're at a trampoline park, right? And so there's areas where we'll want to see the line move quickly, and we're going to really push QR codes and tap connections to ensure that we're not slowing down the line, right? And those are going to be more after the purchase type engagements with the guest. The quick engagements with the guest would be, hey, add a $10 gift card to this purchase, right? And it goes to the bottom line instantly. So you'll have your quick touch, single touch on the screen for the items you want to add to the basket. And then the deeper engagement will all happen after the fact. So it's kind of depends. But then you have the other side, right? If you have a ladies boutique, they maybe only see 15 guests that check out a day. That's a really great opportunity for us to extend the time in line and really offer things like e-club or, something of loyalty or value, or, hey, we have, our spring packages are coming in, check to see what we've ordered. They're not on the floor yet, but you could scroll and see the dresses and the blouses that they've ordered that are coming in for the spring release. So it really depends on the merchant itself and how long do we want to keep that guest captive without annoying them.
Yeah.
And we don't want to annoy anyone.
No, we don't. Yeah. But it is an interesting environment to be in. Like, again, going back to like retail media networks and just the overall, when you look at how this fits into the overall picture of what a consumer's journey might be in a store location or something like that, right? I mean, outside the store, they're getting messaging. Inside the store, they're getting messaging. And that is all, can be brand related and more influential. You're trying to influence what might be purchased. But really, once you get up to the point of sale, now your mind is in a different, I'm sure there's some science behind it. You asked the science question. I don't know. Maybe they're doing studies out there.
Well, you obviously are ready to spend money.
You are.
So, you might be a little more inclined to add a little something else to spend a little more money.
Well, you have to make a decision, right? You have to now, you're forced into making the decisions or else you don't want to be that person gumming up the works, well, it's not the technology that's slowing me down. It's this person in front of me that's slowing me down. It's just an interesting world that you live in, Kevin, because, right. You want to try to make it as efficient and as frictionless as possible, to use a overused industry term with the frictionless stuff. But you also, it's a golden opportunity to communicate such things as you're talking about, and really an effective manner, because again, you're in the buying mode. So I don't know, I find myself a little bit more sharpened and aware of what is being messaged to me at that moment, right? Because especially if I have to make a decision as a part of the payment process, which is what you're saying, Kevin, right?
That's exactly right. We call it the wallet out moment.
The wallet out moment. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Brands will market to us at home. And we've all seen that enough in our life. And I think you've also seen the change with subscription services, right? With your Netflix and Amazon accounts, you're not seeing the same ads at home that you used to unless you're watching a live sporting event. And a lot of folks will actually not look at their phone and they'll just fast forward through commercials and then they'll watch that live sporting event recorded so they can get through the commercials. So commercials in home have definitely changed, but the budgets at the brands have not changed. And so what we're allowing is to get the brands actually at the decision point or the wallet out moment to really influence the behavior of that guest. And it has to be, in our opinion, it has to be something that is a benefit to the guest, right? There's the value chain really needs to work for all three people of that three-legged stool, which is the merchant, the guest, and the brand. And we put a lot of focus and a lot of time in understanding what offers and promotions are we going to do at the point of purchase. And the merchants provide us plenty of feedback. And I think one of the more interesting things that we might talk at on the recap of this would be all the alternative payment types that have came out over the last few years, right? We've seen buy now, pay later get traction. Obviously, the blockchain cryptocurrency has been a big buzzword until AI came along and kind of put a little bit of muted that megaphone a little bit. But if you think about it, just accepting credit card costs business somewhere in the 2 to 3% range. And so what have merchants done? They've started doing things like cash discounting or dual pricing. And I think what that allows, because merchants are now basically charging guests to accept credit card, the guest is now in like the 6% range of what we're being charged if we use a credit card. And so because of that, it opens up doors for ACH or real-time payments, bank-to-bank transactions, or maybe you could pay with a crypto transaction. But the difficulty is, how do I train a guest to do that? How do I make them aware that they have this option? And that option may be able to save merchants, small merchants, a couple $100 a month, large merchants in the millions of dollars to offer alternative payment types, but also keep in mind we can't slow the line down by training guests on how to do so.
Never even thought about that.
It's an interesting opportunity.
See, that's where the payment geek comes in here, because that's really important what he just said. Like that could be meaningful to the SMB the small retailer or whatever, hospitality. I mean, 3%, 5%, that's meaningful. Yeah. And if there's an alternate payment option that doesn't carry that burden, well, that would be really meaningful.
It's also a quick and easy way to get the word out about that too, because I remember back when the contactless payments first started becoming a thing, and I was very quick to adopt the payments on my phone. Or
we were talking about it on this podcast. How excited we were. We got our Apple Watches and we can go around.
But how often also did you go somewhere and you weren't sure if they took it?
Yeah.
They weren't sure what you were even doing because it was never like super visible. It was before they started putting the little icons indicating that stuff or whatever. Like it was very clunky for a while.
It was very clunky.
And I have a feeling for people that are trying some new payment types or that options are there, it's probably very clunky for them
for sure
at this point too to know like, hey, can you take this? And sometimes the employees don't even necessarily know. I know we're going to talk about the hardware stuff here in a moment, but I think when I was exploring your solutions, Kevin, what really stood out to me is just the dynamic of having the large display to be part of that. Because to your point, your classic point of sale terminal, payments terminal, either has that just tiny little LCD LED type screen or whatever, that you can barely make out that you're supposed to hit this for a tip, or you've got some now that have like a little bit more of a modern screen to them. But again, there's still only so much real estate and only so much that you can actually see there. And, to your points, we've all made this point here, that bottleneck that can happen at the point of sale it's a fine line to figure out that how much time you want to get someone to spend, because I've seen people like, self-checkout, for instance, that I'm like, you are not someone self-checkout was made for. You're taking way too much time to do all the things. You don't know where anything's at. You're reading every line that's on the screen just to figure out how to insert your credit card or whatever. Right. Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard to find that fine line there. And I think, what you're offering as part of your solution and what we're looking at here, with this kind of point of purchase advertising is having something a little more dynamic that makes, I think, a little bit easier for anyone to see like, all right, I see what's happening here and what it's asking me to do. So let's start going down that path a little bit. This is kind of a two-part question, I think, that lends itself together. Like, let's talk a little bit about the hardware here and what hardware is involved in making this happen. But then also as part of that, where does this really work better than other places? Is it something that anybody can really incorporate? I mean, and you've mentioned a lot of different potential outcomes, but are there some specific retail types you think that are more primed and ready than others to introduce this kind of system at their point of sale because of maybe they get the little bit longer linger times, or it's more advantageous to have people interact with this kind of system? So what's good places to do this, and what's the hardware components we're looking at here?
You bet. I mean, for us, we believe that retail America, right? Main Street America is really the sweet spot for our product. There's a lot of things to unpack there, but, the first piece is combating online sales, right? So in the vet, I'll speak to the vet clinic specifically on that. We have a large dog, and his dog food, when it comes in, is about 45 pounds. And so what has traditionally happened over the last 5 to 7 years is that you go home and you order that dog through Chewy or Amazon, because guess what? It's going to get shipped right to your house and dropped at the door. And so what we have said is that we're bringing e-commerce to our brick and mortars and allowing the brick and mortar location to really have an e-commerce present within the four walls of retail. So what a promotion like that could be, John, would be, we'll give you 35% off your first bulk order to have it shipped to your house. Because guess what? The vet can offer those same online services and that same shipment as the big brands that are doing so online. So that's the first thing is, really trying to bring in that e-commerce solution into the retail. But quite honestly, anywhere on Main Street America, that's retail. And so what we started with were these big 55-inch urban panel units. They now call them window units. And those were dual-sided screens. And we, again, offered the 3 ads to the merchant so they could promote their business. But we really try to focus on that big screen, if it's used, to get people in the store. Or if you're at a gas station, right, to get you out of the forecourt and get you into the convenience store side. So we'll do some really cool promotions on those units, like, hey, get $3 cash back or $3 off if you come into the store and make a purchase, right, at the gas station. And so those window units are very powerful for that. Another thing, again, excluding Big Brother, is that we will put some sort of a device on the unit that will talk to your cell phone. and it's high pitch frequency. So it knows, hey, if you've registered with PamiTV before and your phone passes by that reader, we can actually start recognizing you and giving you an in-store journey, which is super interesting because I can get you to the Gillette aisle, right? Mm-hmm. If Gillette has a $3.50 coupon off, I can literally drop that in your phone as you're walking by the front door, get you to the Gillette aisle, you go pick up your razors, and you save your $3.50. So that 55-inch unit has been the really cornerstone of our 360 retail journey. We do some other placement within the store as needed. And what we have found is that retail media is still very early when you're talking about a standalone, non-purposeful Mint screen. Those are hard to monetize. So you need very specific brands, and think of it like in-cap type promotions on the in-store units. But our bread and butter, and where we're really trying to really make the difference, is at the point of purchase, right? So it's a different experience once you're at the point of purchase with that piece of hardware. We built that in a modular fashion. So I got to give credit to Coy Christensen, who's my partner, also has been in payments a little longer than I have. And he's like, look, we want to build this in a modular fashion, because the one thing we don't want to do is ask for a VAR and ISV to change their payment provider. We don't want to ask them to change their hardware manufacturer if there's someone that they like to use. And we definitely don't want to get into their payment residuals or the payment flow. So the way we constructed PamiTV for PamiPop at the point of purchase is that it's modular. So you can bring in your own devices, you can bring in your own hardware, and we'll just do the advertising. And we also built it as a platform, just like the payments companies built their stuff as a platform. We built a very easily accessible platform so the ISV can actually just easily integrate to us and turn on retail media immediately. So the hardware is a major part of that for PamiTV, and what hardware is being used and how we put that hardware in a purposeful location to help monetize it for the merchant. As well as, I probably didn't mention this, but there's a little monetization in there for the reseller as well, which is exciting.
Yeah, I would imagine, getting back to kind of some of the hardware that's involved here, and I think Kevin did a great job. That's an interesting part, by the way, to think about the 360. I didn't realize PamiTV's involved in all that, so that's good. I was thinking just at the payment, but going back to where the pop is happening, I love the business strategy where you enable the merchant to utilize their own equipment, but do you also advise? Because I think that there is an opportunity to have more, if there's more real estate on the screen. I think that people's expectations are, well, it's okay to have some messaging and stuff. There's just a lot more opportunity there with a larger screen, or to affect the payment process and what's happening there, at that point of purchase. So do you advise folks like, hey, it's better to have a larger screen? Because I see, part of your solution is that, right? Slightly larger screens at the point of purchase and all that kind of good stuff. So can you speak to that a little bit? Are you seeing that, it is more effective when we have a little bit more real estate to work with?
It is. And there's science behind that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Historically, we have, we're accustomed to seeing landscape screens.
Yeah.
Right? We're all three looking at laptops right now. They're all landscape.
That's right. Yeah.
But if you think about us as a guest or a consumer, we're looking at our phone.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we're finding is that the science behind that is that portrait mode is very important when you're working directly with the guests. And there's science behind, the security of it being between your shoulders, where landscape expands beyond that, or just the comfort of navigation. We're much faster navigating a phone with very similar operating system functions from a UX than some strange point of sale system we've never touched before. So there's definitely science that came in from that portrait mode and the thoughts behind how to monetize that. And then Dean, also, we're here for the brands. So the brands don't just want that one-to-one communication with the guest that's in line. They want the folks behind the guests in the other lines to see those same advertisements.
Yep.
And so the size of the screen is important. Size does matter. So with the size conversation, right, we like to start around an 11-inch screen. But we do go up as high as 27.5 inches at checkout. And that's a large 27.5 inches at the checkout counter is a very large screen. So, But yeah, definitely on the more secure side, something that, we're not doing things like pin on glass, or, we're not showing balances or anything for the guests. So we take all that into consideration. And the consulting side on the merchant piece is super important. And that's really where we focus with our value-added resellers on the training. And what makes not only a good customer for PayMe, but what makes a good ad for the merchant. And so we go through really in-depth training with the merchant around what to offer, what are good ideas. And then once you kind of give them, a little bit of information, they take it and just expand on it. And they're like, oh, well, wait a minute. We do this art festival every March. Can we, run ads for the art festival? Absolutely. Right. So we get there, our best ideas come from our VARs and from our merchants. And we just get to ride on their successes when we're creating the ads and the content. But content and call to action. So to our marketing friends, call to action is everything.
Right.
So every offer we put out there has a call to action, and it has the opportunity to engage.
I love it from the store's perspective, from the merchant perspective. If they have multiple stores and they have the desire to have messaging in front of their customers, man, this really brings a consistent method of doing that, as opposed to the high turnover of the cashier or something like that, and trying to get, whatever messaging you may want out. This really brings a consistent environment to that. So I imagine, Kevin, you're getting some wins on the merchant side, just, kind of selling that, if you will, the ability to have the consistency of a platform that can deliver messages time and time again in the way that really, the folks back in the marketing team, back at that merchant have hand wrung over what do we say and when do we say it and all that good stuff. And not leaning on, an employee that might only be there a couple months and then they're gone. But now you have a consistent platform to deliver that. And again, it's happening right at the point of purchase, right? So does that make it a conversation that's a little easier on the merchant side to implement this type of platform?
I think it does. I mean, I would say that our customers that have used us and that we've done pilots are coming back for more, right? I think that our barrier to entry is the newness of it, right? They're like, oh, wait a second, you're going to take something that is this large and you're going to put a 15-inch screen in that same space. And it's like, well, it's actually on a pole and it expands. You're taking up airspace. You're not taking up counter space.
Right.
So you got to go through that part of just the change and the differentiation. But for the merchants themselves and why they keep coming back is because they value those 3 ads that we create. Again, it's not static. They're not cheesy. Maybe I'm biased, but they're beautiful video ads, no sound, because we don't want to drive anyone in the store crazy.
That's right. Yeah.
But they're beautiful video ads. They have a great call to action. And oh yeah, by the way, the first 2 years of the business, we built an engagement layer that gives data and analytics back to our merchants and our brands on what's occurring with those screens. So if the call to action is not necessarily strong, or maybe the offer is a little weak, it's a great opportunity to go back to the merchant and say, hey, we're going to update your ads. Let's focus on this for your call to action instead of what we were doing previously, to ensure that there's a higher take rate. And then we have the analytics behind it to show what those take rates are.
Aha. Now you're getting into some of the brilliance of the platform. And I'm glad you referenced, that it's not just the hardware technology, but the platform, it sounds like, that you guys are offering. And now you're dipping into the business intelligence that the merchant can garner from these actions. And these are actual actions, right? It's not what might be or fluff around, what might be happening in the store or out of the store. This is actionable stuff. This is stuff that is transacting, right, Kevin? So that's meaningful business intelligence that the merchants can garner from that. And if they understood how to utilize this tool now to extract maybe some business intelligence that they're looking for as it relates to sales or behavior or whatever they might want to try to affect, this is now meaningful, right?
Yes, very much. I mean, and Dean, it goes, if you start, let's start with the brand themselves, right? The store may be impartial to the brands unless they're a very specific brand selling store, like a Schwinn bike store.
Right.
They're selling Schwinn bikes.
That's right.
But in the supermarket, right, it's really about placement and who are we doing the placement for? So where the benefit comes back to the merchant is about the first is leaving the store. When I left the store, did the merchant have a lasting impression? and is their ability for us to add revenue for that merchant now that I've left the four walls, which is why we talk a lot about delivery services and loyalty and things of that nature. You want the client to come back, hopefully. I think we've all had a client once or twice where we wish they wouldn't come back. But for the most part, you want these repeat customers.
For sure.
And so for that sense, right, we want to incentivize the guests to make sure that they make a return to that establishment. And so, yeah, I mean, all of those things are in action at checkout. But what I noticed and what we all kind of recognize in this space long term from the beginning is that point of sale providers have a lot of SKUs in that system. Mm-hmm. And not one SKU is the same across the board for all point of sale providers. It's all fragmented. It's very different. Custom codes get created, custom codes get made, and custom SKUs get made. And so to give delivery statistics back to the brands on what's moving out of a point of sale, it hasn't happened. That was kind of the missing piece of this full circle is, how do I tie this back to the product, good, or service actually being sold? What time of day was it sold, right? Who did I sell it to? And all of those things we feel like as we continue to grow the PamiTV platform and continue to get more guests engaged in the platform, we'll start having some really in-depth analytics around guest buying habits, and then also providing that SKU data out of the point of sale back to the brands. Again, so long as all parties feel that that's the right thing to do and from a security purpose, and we're not doing it in a big brother way.
That absolutely is the right way. I mean, when you think about retail media networks and just the power of, we all are online consumers, and we all know the immense amount of analytics that goes into e-commerce, right? Everything is analyzed, heat mapped, watched, I mean, everything, right? Everything is highly documented and analyzed. Whereas in the store, I think what this, PamiTV is getting you closer to be able to have that experience. And I'm talking from like a business owner and or a marketer, right. Okay, how does this really affect sales? And now you have a meaningful way of extracting some of that business intelligence. That's brilliant. Hey, Kevin, real quick, can we go back to the revenue part of these screens? Because I think that's an important thing, right? Because now, point of sale might have been seen as a cost center, whereas, oh, wait a minute, what? I can actually start making money off of my little point of sale system? That is a true statement, right? I mean, you can mix in brand. The brands want to be involved in this. Is that a hard sell, to walk into the merchant and try to get them to think differently about their point of sale as, hey, this could be a revenue generator for you?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's kind of an easy conversation when you can relate it, right? Okay. So the first thing we learned was to take pictures with our phone. And when you go to a merchant or even a clerk at a merchant, you're like, hey, can I show you something? Can I show you what we do? And the moment that you put your phone in front of them, it's like this moment of, oh, wow, like this is important. Like they're letting me look at their phone, right?
Right.
And so, the first thing is get their engagement with what a portrait screen will look like with showing their ads. And you're like, here's how you can do this. And so once you start showing through your phone a couple samples of what they can do, the buying signs, like I said, their gears start running and they think of a million different ways that they could work with the screen. But the monetization side was important. And so being in the payments business, right, we created what we called mailbox money or clipping coupons for our of our partners, starting in the 2008 timeframe, a little earlier for some. Most of the folks started catching wind of that. 2014, 2015, John, about the time your contactless payments and EMV all started coming out. And so what the VARs and the ISVs have done is they've taken that mailbox money and they've started getting really clever and creative with the bundling of the hardware services, right? And so there are those big brands that say, hey, we give free POS. Well, we all know free doesn't happen. So how did it get free? Well, the way it got free was with some payment revenues that came to that partner. And then they can take those payment revenues and peanut butter spread it across their SaaS fees. And at the end of the day, they can somewhat offer what's called a free POS with card payment fees. We understood this and we took it to heart. And so the way that we monetize a PamiTV is we do it in two fashions. We do it for the merchant. So the merchant actually gets a residual from us. And it's not the big value added benefit for the merchant. It's just a nice to have because we can honestly go to market and say, hey, we're the first terminal device type company that actually, instead of takes your money, it gives you money back. So we'll cut a little residual check to the merchants for their throughput. And the more ads that run on that screen, the more revenue goes back to the merchant. But we took that bundling concept to heart for our VARs and our ISVs to say, hey, we have this new bucket of cash, probably not quite as much as the payment revenue, but it comes with a whole hell of a lot less friction than payment revenue does. And it's new revenue. It's unrecognized revenue. So, typically your restaurants get the Coca-Cola or Pepsi money, but that's about it, right? There's a few other brands that you'll see on like a bar, right? The bar pads and those things. But ultimately in the retail space, it's their end caps and where the brands are paying for space there, but not bringing in outside brands, right? So now AT&T or, Verizon has an opportunity inside a grocer to actually get a new customer. That merchant and that partner who put that technology in there should be paid for that. And so we have created more creative bundles, really, for our ISVs and VARs. And the more that, think of the old payment ISO channel, you pull levers for revenue. It's like, oh, I want to do my own credit and risk. Okay, well, you make more money if you do that. Or I want to set my own rates and my own pricing in my contracts. Well, you make more money as a VAR ISV for doing that. And so we did the same thing with PayMe. If the ISV and VAR want to purchase the hardware, then we're going to provide very handsome rev shares to them. Nice. And it's enough and will be enough in time for them to go beyond free hardware bundles, right? Yeah. Now we're starting to get more into free SaaS bundling with the free hardware bundling. So it's allowing our partners to really be much more competitive. But yeah, there is a requirement that you've got to install an 11-inch to a 27-inch screen at the point of purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that should be an easy lift, though, because you've referenced it a few times, the whole portrait mode thing, the fact that we're all used to playing on our phones all the time. And I think there's a big difference between, your typical landscape screen, like our laptops and the typical point of sale type screen. You think of that more of like a business thing. Whereas our personal devices, those portrait mode devices, those vertical video stuff or whatever, that feels more personal. And there's probably some psychology behind that when someone sees something set up we've started doing it on the marketing side of things. We post a lot of some of our video content with shorts in vertical. We shoot it in vertical, knowing that a lot of folks are going to be, accessing and seeing this stuff while they're scrolling on their phones. And it's going to look a lot better if they don't have to hit a button to expand it or flip their phone sideways. It's just going to work native to what they're already doing. That's what all these modern apps are about now. So I have a feeling that as part of this is there is a psychology of I'm seeing a screen that looks just like a giant version of the screen that I spend way too much of my life staring at already as it is. I automatically make that connection of it being a little bit more of a personal and personalized towards me type device. And I just think the way we're doing the advertising here with it too is just, I think this is brilliant because, I feel like you're starting to see, I know when I'm watching television, for instance, and, like you mentioned earlier, Kevin, the idea of you might watch a sporting event, maybe you're pre-taping and skipping through commercials. We all hate commercials. Most of us are willing to pay extra on a lot of streaming services just not to have to watch
commercials.
But on the times that you do, I've noticed that a lot of those commercials now, they're not the traditional, just straightforward commercials. Sometimes you'll see a fairly static commercial with a QR code in the corner that's telling you, scan here to get more about this sent directly to your email. Like when I watch on, we have a Fire TV in our bedroom. And there's a lot of times I'll see ads pop up, sometimes just within the, the overall app feature, but sometimes within videos too. And it'll say scan here and we'll automatically send this to your Amazon cart. Or scan here and you'll get an email because they've already got your email associated with your account. You'll get an email that goes straight to your email address from here. This is just the natural extension of that. And this is a way of taking that. I think it's a great selling point, a great way to explain it to someone. Taking that concept, except dropping it now into a retail space where you are, the lift is very light to get, to advertise to someone in a platform that it's very easy to pull your phone out, scan that QR code, get something sent to you while you're just going about your business. You probably got your phone in your hand already as it is.
For sure.
Why not tap into that?
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I love this stuff. I think this is a cool new idea, a way to take something a little bit of an extra step, from what you might already be doing in these retail spaces.
Yep.
All right. Well, in a moment, we're gonna have Kevin kind of wrap things up here for us a little bit, explain a little bit more about how you could be working with PamiTV and expanding your offerings and getting a little more competitive. If you haven't figured it out already, I would hope by now you see what this offers to you.
Absolutely.
He'll make it a little more succinct for you. Before we do that, a quick note of what's happening around BlueStar Nation. Hey, the 2U tour, it don't stop because it can't keep a good tour down.
That's right.
Kevin knows he was at the Tampa 2U tour event. We met each other there. We just had our Phoenix event. As you're listening to this, would have been just a couple days ago. Next up, we've got Austin, Texas coming up.
Hey, Austin.
In late April, as well as a Toronto event around the end of April as well. I'll be at the Austin show. If that makes any difference whether you're attending or not. We probably just got a bunch of people just suddenly took back their reservation.
Yeah, canceled.
Nope, don't need to see that guy.
Yeah.
And we've got Boston coming up in June, I believe, as well. There's plenty more spots coming throughout the year.
Yep.
Kevin, why don't you test it? What was the tour like for you? What was your experience there?
Oh my goodness, it was incredible. I mean, if you've not been to any BlueStar event, first off, you've got to realize these things are always first class, right? So it was a wonderful venue. It was a Starship cruise out of Tampa. But the best part was just the connection. I mean, the networking and the connection with the vendors is absolutely fantastic. So we came away from that trip with a few relationships that we needed to further expand. We got to meet with some partners that we value and kind of deepen those relationships with them as well. And I actually got invited to work on a board in the payment space by being on that with one of the attendees. So
nice.
We met some great folks and continue to have ongoing communication with them since the event a few weeks ago. So
there he goes. Print it.
Exactly. I don't need to continue on with this ad read here. And just for the record, I didn't tell Kevin I was going to ask him about this ahead of time. I literally decided I was going to talk about this right before we started recording. So that was very organic, and thank you for that plug. So check out the 2U tour. There's a link in our show notes where you can see the upcoming sites. Make sure you're following us on LinkedIn also, because we always are posting about these events, as we open up registration. And a lot of these events, because they're in cool places or on boats and whatnot,
for sure,
they fill up pretty quickly. So, if you see one and you're interested and it's in your vicinity, I highly recommend signing up for them. They're pretty neat things we do there. Yeah. While you are doing that and you're signing up for a tour coming to a town near you, take a moment to follow us on LinkedIn, like this podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a rating and review. We appreciate that feedback. Send in ideas for us. Dean was mentioning at the very beginning of the show that we don't talk enough about payments.
Right.
And I know people
what other
have
ideas
asked me
do we
about
need
that.
to? Yep.
And I would love to do that. Or if you feel like you could come on the show and talk a little bit more about payment stuff, we'd be happy to have you. And as always, you can also email us directly, nation@bluestarinc.com. All right, let's wrap things up with a little VAR value here. And Kevin, again, I think you have made a absurdly good pitch for why anyone who's working in the retail space should be working with PamiTV and offering your solutions and bringing you into the fold. But talk a little bit more about these offerings. Give us maybe kind of a high level overview of what you think you have to offer VARs, how you're going to help them expand out their solution stack, and what's working with you like, and how do you give them a little bit of a competitive advantage?
You got it. Thank you. It's a great tee up. So for our VAR communities especially, and that's near and dear to my heart because that's primarily who I've always worked with in this industry. The first thing is feet on the street, right? It's very difficult if you are feet on the street as a sales rep to go in and make new relationships. I mean, people have almost just blocked us out, right? You blow through the no solicitation sign. Hey, I'm not here to solicit. I'm here to make an appointment to come back and solicit. It's hard to get in the door. And when you're talking about point of sale, it has been very difficult to displace point of sale with other point of sale providers. So the first thing we're giving the VAR is we're giving them a piece of technology to talk about something different that no one's cold calling with today. Right. So it's a different statement of coming in and saying, hey, can I show you how digital media can make more revenue for your store? Can get you more loyalty signups, and really differentiate your storefront from any other store that's out there. So for the VAR, just to open the door and gain a new customer, it's a lot easier than saying, oh, well, when's your point of sale contract up? And I'll follow back up in 2 years when you get out of this hell or high water language when you're existing, right? So first off, for cold calling and just prospecting, it's amazing. It's a different tool or service, but it is tech. And so no one better than an MSP or a VAR understands how technology works, how to explain technology. But what they don't want is someone to come into one of their existing merchants and place technology that is not theirs. Because now if I have a piece of technology in that merchant, I can come back and follow up on my PamiTV displays and continue to check the pulse of that merchant service agreement or of that POS agreement that they're in. So it's constant contact with your prospect because now you have a tool in there. So for the VAR, just for those two reasons, it seems automatic. But ultimately, this is a differentiation for their point of sale. I don't see very many other ISVs and VARs that have this technology unless we've put it out there. And so it's an easy differentiation selling point for the point of sale. And then we talked as well about the bundling. So we will share revenue back with our partners. We'd like to think we're super easy to work with since we worked in the channel for 20 years. And so for that point of view, right, how do we effectively bundle that cash and that expected revenue and with their point of sale revenue and their payment revenue and create a new bundle that's differentiating. And the cool thing is this is not something that the merchant's paying for. And so, typically the merchant is ecstatic about their ads and they're ecstatic about the throughput, 3 times more loyalty signups. That is something of a huge benefit to the merchant. And so that makes our VAR partner look like a rock star, right? He didn't come in and just advise me on retail media. He actually put a retail media package and plan in place that is making my business money and it makes my business look really, really good. So from a retention standpoint, that client's going to remember their value-added reseller and they're going to stay with them and they're going to look for the next great innovation that the BlueStar Podcast Nation is going to release, which is probably something really cool that none of us have thought of yet.
Love it.
And I love the stickiness, right? I mean, in being able to do loyalty programs and stuff like that. Look, at the end of the road, if I could speak for Kevin, they are a team that understands the channel, right? They understand where we live in. They have channel experience. You are partnering up with somebody. If you're a reseller or an MSP or an SI that is looking or interested in this type of technology, PamiTV is a great partner to work with because they understand. As you heard, more than 20 years of history in the payment world, but Kevin's a great guy. He understands the channel. He understands the mechanics and the money behind the channel. It's nothing but good stuff. So you got a good partner here.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want a partner like that?
Absolutely.
I'll tee in real quick on the the loyalty stuff and the sign up stuff. Like I thought of this a few times during our conversation. Again, harkening back to my retail days, and once upon a time when I had to sell a little loyalty card for my bookstore that I worked.
Take a drink if you're playing along at home.
Take a drink. Yeah, John mentions working in a bookstore. And is the card you give people, and like if they swipe it, they would get a little percentage off, or they earn points, to get like $5 coupons in the mail and stuff like that. But you know what? For a lot of people, a lot of people that work in retail, they're not natural salespeople.
No,
they're not necessarily engaged or interested in upselling, in selling loyalty stuff. It's just, a lot of times you're getting people that are just doing it as a part-time job. You got younger people trying to make some money or working for the holidays or whatever.
Absolutely.
And even though it's crucial to your business that as many people as possible are signing up for this stuff, it's hard to make someone do that without making them feel like they are being pushy or aggressive. Again, I remember what that was like, and I remember how hard it was to train it. I remember how hard it was to do it myself.
Right.
This I feel like is a nice little way if you want a conversation starter, is a way to figure out if this could be useful to your customer, be to go in and say, hey, do you guys offer a loyalty program? Do you do any kind of upselling? How hard is it to train people to do that? Do you frequently find, your employees not wanting to, or you hear them doing it and it sounds awkward and unprofessional, or they just don't do it. They don't do it entirely. That is like your little shove your foot in the door, because I promise you, they're most likely going to say yes. Yes. They're probably not a store filled with brilliant sales experts that, understand how to be the perfect salesperson. Because if they were, those people are probably off doing other jobs.
That's right.
Instead. So that to me is just one extra little piece of this that can help you get your foot in the door and solve a problem that is a problem probably in every retailer, but that they just don't think is a solvable one. It's just like, well, it's just part of the business. We gotta awkwardly ask people to give us something and give us more in order to potentially get something down the road.
Yep.
Great customer, great concept here. I'm glad we're having this conversation because I love these points where we can tell our partners, hey, here's an opportunity to grow your business in a new, unique way that maybe you hadn't thought about before. So
there you go.
So check out the show notes. I'll put a link to PamiTV's offerings there, and I highly recommend reaching out to Kevin. He'll be happy to have a conversation.
Absolutely, with you about it. Yes.
Let's wrap up as always with what's on our radar. This is where the fun part of the show. We get to talk about anything in the world of science, business, tech, innovation, the news, entertainment, just something random we feel like talking about today. Kevin, what's on your radar right now?
I'll save soft pods for another time. What's on my mind? What's on my mind is how AI has not helped us with all the call screening, the calls that come through to our cell phone.
Right.
So I am living this dream of a nightmare where I get about 15 credit type offers through my cell phone. And I'm like, wow, what is there anything coming, or is there anything that's with AI that's gonna help us figure out how to safeguard our phones a little bit better, since it is, John, to your point, our personal device.
That's right.
But as a sales guy and as a company that sells things, I think legislation scares me because I want to reach out to potential customers. But at the same time, enough's enough.
Enough is enough. Yeah, that's a really good one. You would think, because there's actually laws around spam or telemarketing laws where you can't, if you're on a do not call list. Does the do not call list even work anymore?
Remember we were all supposed to put our numbers in the do not call?
I did that.
Yeah. Did that actually work?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it did for a little while. But
maybe instead of getting the 10 you're getting now, maybe you would have been getting like 80 or something.
But to Kevin's point, it's obscene at this point in time. Not only voice calls, but texting. Yeah. It's like if I get one more spam text, how did you even get my number? Yeah. And it's hey, I'm cutting trees in your area. Are you interested in having my crew stop by? No, who are you? Go away. Yeah, junk. Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's funny because I feel like the carriers try to figure out ways to solve this problem, and that never seems to quite work the way they think it's supposed to work.
Kevin's got the idea. They need AI, but go ahead.
Well, I agree. Right. Like the devices don't either, because I noticed like the latest iOS update or whatever has like some new features for like you can segment spam into a different section in your messages. Mm-hmm. There's also a different section it can be segmented to into your calls. However, I already turned that off because I was finding stuff that wasn't actually spam that was getting marked. Like my Arlo doorbell, my front doorbell, when it rings,
it was going to spam.
It's identifying it as spam, but because I'm supposed to add that as a contact, I'm like, I shouldn't have to add my doorbell as a contact. I just should get it ring and know that it's coming because it says doorbell.
That's right.
It's stuff like that. You're right. Whoever the first company is that comes up with the perfect AI solution for call filtering, one will probably completely end the spam industry entirely, which would be ideal probably. But, more importantly, it would just probably be like a life-saving tool that everyone would sign up for immediately.
Yeah, and I agree with Kevin. Yes, AI needs to solve cancer and things of that nature, but
let it solve the important stuff.
Can we use a token or two of inference to just solve this one other problem while it needs a little bit of a break?
Exactly. Yeah. Take care of the important stuff before you get to these things that we just find as minor annoyances.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
All right. Dean, what's on your radar right now?
Well, I got two of them, and one of them I may have already talked about. But anyway, the first one I need help from both of you in understanding the world, because this I don't understand. How does Logan Paul's Pokemon card sell for $16.5 million?
How does Logan Paul? That's actually the real question.
Okay, there's so much in that one sentence that we need to unpack. You're absolutely right. So can we start with the Pokemon card? I mean, are either one of you into Pokemon world or no?
I mean, my son is obviously now.
Kevin, are you into this at all? The Pokemon card thing?
I've got a lot of friends on the edge, but I don't know enough. What disappoints me, it's the fact that Jerry Garcia's guitar would sell for $1.3 million and a Pokemon card can get $13 million or whatever.
What is up with that? I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, the Jerry Garcia. That's a. Oh my gosh, that should be a monument.
Yeah,
exactly. No, this Pokemon. It's totally out of whack. Well, I guess so. He has this card, which is rare in and of itself, right? It's a Pikachu illustrator, whatever. I guess that means something in the Pokemon world. But then
there are Pokemon fans yelling at their card.
Oh,
right
there
now.
totally are. And I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anybody who's in the Pokemon world. I genuinely don't. I'm trying to get a better understanding. That's how the whole preface to it is I need a better understanding of the world that I live in and why this card. I guess he then put it into a case that's diamond encrusted, and then he wore it at like a wrestling match that he did. Maybe that's it, Kevin. That Jerry Garcia should have put his guitar in a case, and then like I don't know, and then now suddenly it's worth $16 million.
Jerry Garcia wasn't some YouTube peddling influencer type either, I suppose. He was just out there jamming and making great music, But,
there's no way Jerry Garcia would have been in that world. Not at all.
Not so much.
All right, so the second one I got, and did I already talk about the Yuka app before?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna bring it up again because it is a great app.
Are you actually using it? Are you using it?
I am.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, because after I used it a couple times, and I thought I talked about it on a couple pods ago. Now it's really cool because you go in, you scan stuff, and it'll tell you, for those of you that haven't used it, it's so that you can judge how good or bad the food that you're eating is, and it does it through barcode technology. Right. So if you're walking around the store and you scan whatever pasta or what, it'll give you a rating right then and there if this is good or bad for you. Well, now I've turned into that Yuka guy that's walking around like bleep 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 bleep. I mean, I'm scanning everything.
Other than like what's sitting in fresh produce sitting out, does anything tell you it's good at this point?
Well, no, there are good things. So I was trying to adjust my diet like with granola in the morning. So I have granola and Greek yogurt, but there's a spectrum of granola that is not good for you, right? So you might think some of it's good for you. I thought I was eating some of the better granola. Oh, I was wildly wrong because it was like in the 30, it gives you a rating out of 100.
Right.
And I was eating 30 out of 40 or 30 or 40 out of it. And so it was like poor type of thing. And I'm like, oh man, so now I got to change it. But I did find a good granola. So there's a good news story.
Okay.
Here. Anyway, keep using that app. It's a good app. It's meaningful.
I'm nervous trying this out that I'm going to go scan all this stuff in my cupboard and just it's going to be like, no, all this sucks. You're terrible. What's wrong with you?
You will throw away the Ritz crackers, and nothing against Ritz. I'm sorry about that particular brand, but man, it gets a 0 out of 100.
Wow.
So maybe dirt might be a little bit better than eating that. But anyway,
I don't know. You could be scanning grass and you'd be like, sorry, this isn't quite healthy enough. This isn't the pure Kentucky bluegrass that it's supposed to be.
That's right.
Interesting.
So what's on your radar there, John?
All right. So I was giving this some thought before we jumped on, and it occurred to me that the day this episode is coming out is going to be the traditional baseball opening day.
Yes.
Now we are recording this
on
St. Patrick's Day, hence the reason why Kevin's rocking the green tie. I got my green, but I've also it's a Reds St. Patrick's Day themed shirt. I don't know how that makes sense, but it's opening day, one of my favorite days of the entire year. I always get pumped up for the baseball season and then usually get my heart crushed at some point during when I realize the Reds are not going to make the playoffs yet again. Yeah. Or but will get promptly swept out by the Dodgers.
That's right.
Anyway, so because this is a tech show, it's important that we acknowledge the ABS challenge system, which is finally going to be implemented at the major league level this year.
That's true.
I believe I probably brought this up at some point previously years ago when this conversation started first happening, and we started implementing it in the minor leagues.
Yes.
So if you don't know anything about baseball, you have no idea what's going on here. So it's been a long-standing feud between fans and umpires about calling balls and strikes. Essentially.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So much so, there's been a lot of discussion over the years, like, well, should we have a robot essentially doing this? Should it be a specific exact zone, and we are defining it, and anything that gets thrown there gets immediately called a ball or a strike by something that is not a human. But then you get a lot of purists, and I'm a little bit of a baseball
I'm on the purist side too.
Who are like, should we be doing that though? Because like the nuance and the human aspect of it kind of is part of the game in a way too.
Absolutely.
It's been all over the place. So at the minor league level, they've been testing this out, and it's finally going to make its way to the major leagues this year. So essentially, this is a challenge system where players, whether it be the catcher, the pitcher, or the batter, I guess a coach could technically be part of this too, can challenge a call of a ball or a strike.
Yes.
Now there have been some limits put around this, and there will be a system that
can they just keep challenging? No,
they're only allowed to have 2 per game, I believe.
2 per game,
and I think they get an extra one during extra extra innings.
Oh, okay.
So each team starts with 2 challenges apiece. So you got to make sure you're right. Now, I've been watching spring training games. They've been showing it off in spring training, and I've seen several times where a player will call it out, and a lot of times they're right. They'll get it overturned. I don't know if this is one of those things where, like in football, where like, you know, if you get your challenge, I think it is where if the challenge is correct, then you still hold on.
You get your challenge. You still have 2.
I think so. I don't remember for sure if that's the.
You don't lose a timeout.
Yeah, here we go. Our successful challenge is retained. So there'll be a link in the show notes where you can see all the nuances. Yes, a team only loses this challenge if the umpire's call is confirmed. So if you get it right, you get to keep that challenge and keep using it as many times as you need to.
Got it.
If you get it wrong, 2
you
strikes,
lose it.
you're out, you're done. This is good. I think, honestly, again, when I first heard about this, wasn't sure if I liked it. Now that I've seen it in action, kind of like it. What's funny is this is very timely because the World Baseball Classic, which is going on right now, had a game that just recently ended on a very, very bad call where an obvious ball that would have been a ball 4 and a walk and kept the game alive for a team.
Yeah.
Was called I think it was the Dominican game that the U.S. played against the Dominican. It was a tight game, 2-1, bottom of the 9th. There was a runner on third, and the Dominican batter was called out when it should have actually been a ball and a walk, and kept the inning alive. May not have changed the outcome of the game. Could have very easily swayed that entirely.
Yep.
And, that is the kind of place where this system, now I don't know if that challenge still would have been lurking around at the bottom of the 9th in a tight game like that, but it could have made the difference in whether this team won or lose. So I'm on a little bit on board with this. Like it sounds like, if we're limiting this, I think it's something players will learn very fast about whether they can or cannot do this. There are some players I suspect will be better at it than others.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Some pitchers that will be better at it than others. Usually the guys that have a good eye and know how to take a walk. And they're usually the ones that are a little better at identifying. Like think of Joey Votto, for instance, us here Reds fans. That is a man who could identify where a ball was at pretty much at all times.
Yeah, right.
He's someone that probably would have very much benefited from this and found himself on base a lot more often.
Interesting.
Of it. So
yeah, we'll see.
I'm interested to see how it plays out throughout the season. I think almost all regular season games should have this included this season. I think they've said some of the games played on unique fields might not have it set up because they don't have the camera.
How are they making the call? They tap their helmet? Is that what they do to make this? Or do we get flags that we that we can throw out like in the NFL? Are there going to be big red flags?
It has to be done very quickly. Like I think it's like a short few second window that you got to make that decision.
Right. Yeah.
And then, the umpire will stop play. The system itself is very fast. Like we're not talking about even they've been
it's like in tennis where you can see the ball where the ball and it happens within seconds.
You've been doing replays for a while, and sometimes the replays can take a little while because someone's scrolling through the video and looking at everything. This because it's just all right, here's the box.
That's it.
It's like within 10 seconds it's identified.
Got it.
And the call is made. It's either confirmed or overturned, and you move on from there. But we'll see. We'll see how that works throughout the season. I'll be curious to see how it plays out as we go throughout. But
yep.
But hey, baseball's.
I wish we had that in the point of sale at the checkout, where the merchant could come up and say, "Hey, wait a minute, I think you stole something. I'd like to go to the video replay on that."
Throwing back to our episode last week about loss prevention. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
A little tap of the helmet. Hey, can we review the video real quick? Kevin, you need to integrate that into your system there, PamiTV, and fraud prevention.
Well, I do like the strategy that it's going to put in baseball because everything's strategic.
Oh, right? Yeah, so, exactly.
Totally.
What if you're the player who uses it with one out, no runners on board, right? Can you imagine all the grief the coach would give the umpire is now going to give the player?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
The dugout?
That's a great point.
So we'll miss the arguments between coaches and umpires.
Yeah.
You don't want to be. You're absolutely right.
Really good point.
You don't want to be the guy who gets it wrong. It'd be one thing if you're the guy who got it wrong once, but if you're the guy that gets it wrong every time he does it, you're gonna find that coach is gonna be like, you don't ever get to challenge these things ever again. I don't care if it is if it's skirted past behind the back of your head, you're still not allowed to challenge.
Right.
You are not that person. So
good stuff.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yep, indeed.
All right, Kevin Brown, PamiTV.
Thanks,
Kevin. You so much for being on the show. We appreciate it having you. Yep. Check them out. I highly recommend them. It's a fascinating new angle to your point of sale that I think you should look into.
Absolutely.
Until next time, give me that coupon for some razors. I could use some. Those things are expensive. Come on. Yeah, Kevin clearly has not gotten the coupons recently. He could tap into one. We'll see you out there, folks, in Blue Star Nation.